So obviously I'm back. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to start with the review, and that fits that pattern of tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them again. So I'm going to remind you that you're here, and then there's some of you that are new, and hopefully I can get everyone up to speed. So we're going to romp with this, and we're going to look at the law of attraction and hopefully shift your understanding. Are you on board?
Yes.
Hearts and minds open.
Yes.
Smiles on. Okay, law of attraction, part 2. What's up with that? So, did you go last week a little bit? Some people do. So, I apologize. Maybe we'll do a little more of that. So, first of all, we want to talk about what is a law and what is a rule. In spiritual circles and metaphysics, a spiritual law is immutable. You have no choice whether you use it or not. But you do have a choice of how you use it. How you use it. And a rule is something that tells us how to use a spiritual law. So a rule can be like a best practice. And rules, we have choices. We can choose whether we use a rule or not. So for me, the law of tithing is a rule because I can choose not to tithe. However, it's a best practice for the law of giving and receiving. See that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's look at what laws are. So they're exact. Laws of mine are just as exact and undeviating as the laws of metaphysics or music or gravity. No choice. You get to choose how you use it. They are unchallengeable. They simply are. They're unchangeable. And damn it, they're unavoidable. Don't we wish we could avoid them sometimes? And then one definition of the law of attraction is a belief that by focusing on positive or negative thoughts, people can bring positive or negative experiences into their lives, bring people in their lives, bring things into their lives. Basic summary is like attracts like. Really? Really? So we do say birds of a feather flock together, right? And there seems to be that happening. But then there is also this, or not. There we go. We know magnetic poles come in pairs that attract and repel each other. When do they repel each other? When they're the same. Right? When they're the same. Yikes. So in human beings, sometimes it seems like opposites attract, right? And then usually drive each other crazy. How many of you experienced that? Right? Right? Partners? Right. Okay. So here's where like attracts like, according to Charles Fillmore. A thought feeling will take up its abode in our consciousness with thoughts, feelings of like character. I'm going to read that again. A thought feeling will take up its abode in our consciousness with thought feelings of like character. So this like attract like is a law of consciousness. However, it's not a law of the outer realm. This law of attraction continues until combined thoughts make a colony. This colony of thoughts, feelings expresses itself in consciousness and in the cells of the body for good or ill. So this like attract like is true in consciousness, and because of what we're learning from physiology in that, whatever thoughts you're holding with feeling are impacting your body. Beyond your body, not so much. So the law of attraction of mind is actually then the law of mind action, isn't it? Which we've talked about a little bit already today. Law of mind action in its original form is thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Thoughts, you've heard this, yes? Okay. However, Charles Fillmore said, when I say the word thought, I mean thoughts and feelings. So it's really thoughts held in mind with feeling produce more and similar and like thoughts of the same kind. You've noticed this, I hope. And we usually notice it first when we're angry. Haven't you noticed that? When you get that instantaneous hit and you're angry and your mind's off and running thinking of related things and you're making it bigger and bigger and the drama gets, right? Maybe you don't do that anymore. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So I like to think about this thoughts and feeling things. So in physics and chemistry, there's something called the wave-particle duality. Please don't glaze over. Okay? Wave-particle duality holds that light and matter exhibit properties of both waves and of particles. Isn't that interesting? So what does that mean? That means this piano has both qualities of particle and particle of wave, and qualities of wave. So this piano, because we can touch it, its particle aspect is huge. Its wave aspect is small. In the case of light, its wave function is usually huge, and its particle function is small. And we can think of the same thing with thoughts and feelings. What if in consciousness, thoughts are particles and feelings are waves? Thoughts are particles and feelings are waves. So what would that mean? That means they're always traveling together. Thoughts and feelings are not separate. Mind and heart are not separate. What if mind and heart were always together? Because that's the way it is in consciousness. You can't separate the two. They're always traveling together as a unit. So I already said this. Thoughts held in mind with feeling produce thoughts, feelings of the same kind. We've noticed this. So let's talk about this as the law of affinity rather than the law of attraction. Affinity is an attraction to or liking for something. How many have affinity for chocolate? Yes. Okay. So this all relates to perception too, because we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. We're seeing from our belief systems. Our belief systems, our thoughts and feelings create filters, and so we see things from that way. So let's look at this. So if you desire a yellow Volkswagen, and you desire that with feeling, that Volkswagen isn't going to show up in your driveway or at the curb just by your thinking, feeling about it. What has to happen? Action. You have to take action. And before you take action, you're going to be thinking and feeling about that yellow Volkswagen until it builds up enough mental substance until you take action. It doesn't come to you, you go to it. You don't attract it to you, you are attracted to it. You see? Through the thoughts and feelings we hold in mind. So what about Ken and Barbie, the untold story? So how does this happen with people? Okay? So what you don't know about Ken and Barbie, Ken is an alcoholic, and Barbie's codependent. And so when they first see each other from the crowded room, right? Okay, exactly. The cool thing about a codependent, there could be 1,000 people in that room and only one person is alcoholic, and because of their perception, boop, 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 right? Right? How many people have, I mean, in all the work I've done, I have people say, geez, Paul, I keep dating alcoholics. What's wrong with me? I said, the first problem is when you find out they're alcoholic, you don't leave. Stay with them. So there's Barbie sorting incoming information for the alcoholic. She doesn't attract the alcoholic to her, in this case Ken. She attracts herself, has an affinity for Ken and his alcoholism. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. At the same time, Ken is sorting the information for the codependent in the room, right? And so he doesn't attract Barbie to him. She He attracts himself to Barbie. This gets confusing. Are you following me? Right. So yeah, it's like this, but one isn't causing the other. There's a correlation between each other, but Barbie doesn't cause Ken, and Ken doesn't cause Barbie. You with me? Yeah. And then there's Jesus. I hope I haven't been doing too much Jesus. 2 weeks of Jesus. So by the law of attraction, the way it was taught to me, and the way it's commonly understood, is Jesus must have the vibration within him for the people he attracted, right? Into his life. That's what it says. However, Jesus attracted at least 4 groups of people. Disciples, right? The followers, the Sadducees and Pharisees as a group, and the Romans, right? And the disciples and followers are one vibration, and the Sadducees and Pharisees and Romans we can put under another vibration, right? Okay? Because the first group loved him, and the first group offed him, right? Hated him. So what's going on here? So I want to go through it. So I want to show you there are different vibrational frequencies, but those aren't in Jesus. So for the disciples, Jesus didn't sit under a tree thinking and feeling, I want a disciple. He walked around, right? Okay? And so when he saw Peter, he sensed something in Peter, and he had an affinity for that, and he attracted himself to Peter. And equally, Peter could have said, no, I'm going to stick with the fish. No, he says, I'm going to follow you, because Peter saw something in Jesus that he had an affinity for. With me? Okay? So Jesus is just being Jesus. Whatever that means. Okay, and then with the followers, very similar to the disciples, that they hear about Jesus, they hear about his message, and so they want to hear his message, they have an affinity for his message, and they take themselves to see Jesus. Jesus doesn't come to them. You with me? Okay? Same thing. Jesus is just being Jesus, this wonderful, beautiful, loving teacher. Now, let's look at the others. Okay, so now what about the Sadducees and Pharisees? What are they? What do they have an affinity for?
Power.
Power. That would be mostly the Romans, but certainly the Sadducees and Pharisees too. So the Sadducees and Pharisees were looking for heretics. They were looking for those who break the laws, right? So their perception, boop, 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 right to Jesus. Jesus was still simply being the same Jesus that the disciples and the followers were looking for, except now they're sorting the data differently based on their beliefs and their perception. So their vibration is different from Jesus's. You with me? Yeah. So what did they do? They attracted themselves. They had an affinity for anyone teaching anything that was heretical. And Jesus wasn't only teaching that, he was being heretical. Okay? And with the Romans, they were all about maintaining their power, weren't they? And what was Jesus teaching? From love, the kingdom, and the establishment of the kingdom on earth. But Jesus didn't mean physical earth. He meant establishing the kingdom in sense consciousness. You see? And earth metaphysically means sense consciousness. So the Romans didn't understand him. They had a completely different vibration from Jesus, but they attracted themselves to Jesus. They had an affinity for Jesus based on their belief system and their perception. You with me? So through that we can see Jesus doesn't have to have these two oppositional vibrations. Jesus is simply the man who realizes Christ's potential, lived from the love that he realized he is and was, and taught about that. And so there were those that had affinity for him, to love him and protect him, and there were those who had an affinity for him to off him. Right? And haven't you noticed that in your own life? Haven't you noticed that there are people you have an affinity for and people you don't have an affinity for? There's no magic in that. You stay the same. And vice versa. So we got to let go of this magical thinking around the law of attraction and realize it is a law in consciousness. Attract doesn't attract like in consciousness. I hold a thought feeling, add more thought feeling. However, it doesn't work that way in the outer realm. We so often in metaphysics confuse the way consciousness works with the way the outer world works. They don't work the same. So, law of attraction in the outer world, law of affinity. Yeah. Got it? Go forth and be it and demonstrate it now consciously rather than the way we have been doing it unconsciously.